So BonJour provides us with a concise precis, an excellent roadmap for understanding the way he wants to argue against foundationalism on page number 5, when he tells us that the key problem for any version of foundationalism is whether it can itself solve the regress problem, which motivates its very existence, without resorting to ad hoc stipulation. So in other words, he's going to try to show that strong foundationalism fails to solve the epistemic regress problem. And it not only fails to solve the epistemic regress problem, its failure is generalizable to all the other versions of foundationalism, so that no version of foundationalism can actually solve the problem that it uses to motivate its very existence. Now, the key to this criticism is his analysis and ultimately rejection of the notion of a basic empirical belief. And he's going to reject that notion because he wants to argue that it's internally incoherent, that any candidate to be a basic belief, in order to fulfill the function that basic beliefs play in foundationalism, it would have to have properties that render it a non-basic belief. In other words, in order to employ a basic belief to end a regress, we would have to be in a position where we in fact have not the end of a regress and not a basic belief, but in fact the continuation of that regress. That when we try to employ those basic beliefs, when we try to understand how a belief could be used, as the foundationalists suggest, what we discover is, no, in fact, it turns out that that basic belief really does actually just trigger our principle of justificational transfer via inference in order to try and establish its basicness. Let's look now then at how BonJour seeks to establish that conclusion, to back up that claim. He's going to start with the notion of epistemic justification. And he wants to suggest, as he says here on page 5, that the distinguishing character of epistemic justification is its essential or internal relationship to the cognitive goal of truth. Now, how is that going to help him out here? Well, let's think about that in terms of that tripartite definitional theory of knowledge. Knowledge is justified true belief. So we go, okay, so what differentiates good beliefs from bad beliefs? Well, being true, that's a good thing for a belief to be. So a true belief is better than a false belief. Okay, that's great. But how do I know which are the good beliefs and the bad beliefs? Well, that's where epistemic justification comes in. All right? So what epistemic justification brings to this mix is it says, look, true beliefs are good, but unless you have reasons to suppose that a belief has that status that's likely to be true, then one belief still is no different from another until something good or something bad happens as a result of your believing it. So what we really want is something that gives us at least a tacit awareness of a belief's likelihood to be true, to be one of those beliefs that's better than a false belief. And in fact, what we really want is reasons to be confident that the belief is likely to be true. In other words, that it's not accidentally true, and so on. And so BonJour's going to try and leverage that idea that has to be cognitively penetrable. That is, we have to have some inclination that the things that we believe are likely to be true in order for them to have the epistemic status of being known. Now, maybe one way that helps to clarify, maybe to motivate BonJour's notion here is a metaphor. So suppose that we're going to play a game, and the game is that when you come into the room, there are 3 boxes, and you have to choose one of those boxes. And before you come in, I put a $5 bill in one of those boxes and the other boxes don't have anything in them. Right? So on this sort of analogy, choosing a box is like forming a belief. Right? It's making a commitment to this box or that box. Right? And you have to do that. That's good. Right? But what's the best choice? Well, the best choice is the choice that gives you that $5 bill. So you choose the box that's got the $5 bill in it. And so you say, well, how do I make the good choice then? How do I form the good belief? Well, the answer is that the game seems to be such that you're not in a very good position that way. You don't really have any indication which of those boxes is the good box. But if you had some insight, you had some reason that made one box more likely to be the box with the $5 bill than the other boxes, well, that would be something good. That would be something that would make your choice better than it would be otherwise. And this, I think, is what BonJour's after there. So if you think of those boxes as beliefs, you think of the $5 bill being in the box as the belief being true, all right? So forming a belief's like choosing one of those boxes. If you're just doing it blind, yeah, it's great if you end up, lucky you, with the $5 bill. But what you really want to do is to be able to choose the box or form the belief with some information or some insight or some awareness that this one is more likely to have the $5 bill, that this belief is more likely to be true. And that's, I think, what BonJour thinks justification brings to that tripartite definitional theory of knowledge, right? Belief, truth, and justification. Having a belief, sure, that's good. Belief being true, yeah, that's good, right? But what you really want in a belief-forming system is a belief-forming system that makes the decision about whether or not to believe something based on some real awareness that that is more likely to be the correct belief to form as opposed to the other ones. Just like you want to be able to choose that box in a way where you've got some insight into which box is more likely than the other box to have that $5 bill. I think it's that aspect of epistemic justification that is driving BonJour's argument against the notion of basic beliefs and hence against foundationalism. So on page 6 of the article, we find him trying to extend that idea and argue against the notion of basicness. If we now assume reasonably enough for a belief, to be justified for a particular person, it is necessary not merely that a justification for that belief exists in abstract, but that the person in question be in cognitive possession of that justification. So the idea here, right, is just like with the boxes. It's not enough that Wallace knows which box the $5 bill is. That doesn't make your choice any better. What you need to have a better choice is to be in cognitive possession of something that indicates to you which box is more likely to have the $5 bill. Say I've got a tell and you make an inference about how I'm acting to which box is more likely to have that $5 bill. But BonJour says, look, if that's true, right? If it's not just some abstract property that renders a belief justified, but instead it's my at least tacit awareness of the abstract property that is important, then my ability to recognize that the belief has that property and to understand its significance, right? So my ability to notice Wallace's tell and to make an inference from that tell to which box is more likely, it's that seems to give my choice or my belief forming mechanism an advantage. And it's that looks like an inference. And it looks like it can't be something that is just a property of the belief, intrinsic to the belief itself.